Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I have two very special card projects for you featuring the brand new release from Concord 9th for September 2025. This is their holiday release, and let me tell you, you are going to love it. I am going live on YouTube with this release today at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so be sure to join me there, and we'll have a deeper look at all of the projects that I created. Today's card feature the brand new Yuletide Lane stamps and coordinating dies. The die set centers around this large house, which also creates a tab so that you can connect these together to create an entire village. There's also plenty of dies to add all the details to your houses, like different window shapes, a wreath, trees, light strands, banners, and more, so you can decorate these any way that you want. Now, my Christmas color palette this year is right here. I love this. It features poppy, pimento, nectar, pistachio, artichoke, sea glass, eucalyptus, and rainforest. And I'm laying these out in these strips so that I can kind of play with the order and the colors that I want my houses to be. This is much easier and gives me a visual representation of what my village will look like. And so I just kind of wanted to give you that strategy before we get started. Now, I'm starting with 3 die-cut houses here because I'm going to show you how this little village comes together. You can see that as I die-cut the houses, there's a little tab on the right-hand side. Now, as you put these together, you're going to use that tab to connect the houses. Obviously, these are not decorated. I'm going to show you a decorated version here in just a moment, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to put together a little lane. And of course, you can use as many or as few houses in your little Yuletide lane as you want. So I'm adding some tape runner adhesive to the front side of this tab on that poppy colored house on the left-hand side, and I'm lining up the next house with that tab. I like to close these as I position them together to make sure that the house behind the first house isn't kind of peeking out from the side or the top. Once I have that positioned where I want it, I'm going to add some tape runner adhesive to the tab on the nectar house, and I'm going to place the pimento house. Again, I like to kind of fold this closed and make sure that all of the houses are lining up properly before that adhesive kind of takes full effect. And I'll put this together here in just a bit with some glue to show you that's an option as well. So you can see this little Yuletide lane will then accordion fold. It will fit on an A2 size card if you want to place it on an A2 size card. But for now, I'm creating a standalone lane. So when you get to your last house in the lane, you're going to want to put this in your trimmer and just trim off that little tab. It's very easy to line up and to do that. Then you can add this trimmed down house as your last house in your lane, and that keeps the front side of this looking super clean and neat. So as I put these houses together, I folded back and then forward and then back again to create this accordion. It will fit in an A2 size envelope if you choose, and then it opens up to a full little Yuletide lane here. This makes for a great card, a shaped card, but you could also just have this as some shelf decor. Now, you can see the tabs on the back side of these houses, so if you want to kind of cover that up, you can die cut another house of the same color, trim off the tab, and then position it over the back side. You can see how that nectar house blocks off the poppy tab and the pimento house blocks off the nectar tab. So that's totally an option, but not necessary because it looks plenty clean on the back side. Now, I die cut several houses and I did play with my color scheme quite a bit. I thought I would use this color scheme here, but I ended up with a completely different color scheme. And what I decided was best for this video is just to kind of show you how some of the individual elements come together. So this is one of the sentiment banners included in the set. This is the Merry banner. I've die cut the base from some black cardstock and the letters from various colors of cardstock, and I'm positioning them onto the banner, which creates a little guide for you with a perfect picker tool and some liquid glue. Now, the light strands work very much the same way. There is a base and there is a die that cuts out the colorful lights. It cuts several at once. And so I'm doing multicolored light strands, but you could do them all in red lights or blue lights or yellow lights, whatever you prefer. I'm building several of these light strands at once to kind of keep that assembly line idea in place. Now for the wreath, you can use the wreath on its own, or there's a couple of greenery pieces that you can attach to give it a little more dimension and fullness. Keep in mind, you could attach multiple of these greenery pieces if you choose. Now the windows consist of two pieces, a base piece and a frame piece. For my base pieces, I decided to use ink blending rather than a solid colored cardstock so that I could have a lighter version of the colors. I started out with this sunflower ink at first, and I decided I did not like the yellow on my houses. And so I took all of these bases, and rather than waste them, I'm just flipping them over to the opposite side, and I will blend a light layer of sea glass ink over these window bases instead. So this is going to act as the glass inside of my window. You can see I'm doing several of these at once so that I can save time. Now, once I have all of those ink blended, then I'm going to adhere the frames on top of each of these windows. I'm just adding a little bit of liquid glue to the back side of the frame and then positioning it right over the top of that ink blended piece. There are two shapes of windows. There's these rectangle windows and also a circular window that's available in the die set. Now the coordinating stamp set is great because it has these door pieces that you can stamp directly onto the door rather than building it up with die cuts. So for the arch door, I am stamping in sea glass ink onto sea glass cardstock. This is the smaller arch of the two arches. I'm going to repeat that process with my pimento door. And also I am going to take the rectangle version of this and stamp all of my rectangle doors. Now the door consists of two pieces, a smaller front piece and a larger back piece, which kind of creates your trim or your molding around the door. So in order to build this up, I'm just taking some liquid glue, adding it to the back side of the door piece, and then positioning that onto the kind of trim piece. Now keep in mind, because we're folding several of these layers of houses together, I'm not using a lot of dimension on any of the houses that are behind my first house. I want to keep those relatively flat. So no foam adhesive for me for these today. I know, it's a shocker. Now, also included in the stamp set are some textural elements that you can add to the front of your houses. I love this little stripe stamp. You can see I'm doing a tone-on-tone stamping with my nectar house, and this nectar house is actually going to be the first in my Yuletide lane. I ended up doing a 5-house Yuletide lane, which is a lot, but man, does it make a statement. So once I've stamped all my stripes on all of the houses that I'm going to add as striped houses, then I'm taking the brick detail piece and I'm stamping in tone-on-tone onto both the sea glass and the pistachio colored cardstocks. You can add as many or as few of these bricks as you want. There's a 3-piece brick set and also a singular. So I just scattered some 3-piece bricks throughout and then kind of staggered in some of the single bricks as well. Now to put the houses together, the eaves I have die cut from some chunky white glitter cardstock. You want to make sure that the point is up towards the top of the roof and that the scallops are facing in towards the house. That will make sure that these fit perfectly. Now I'm just adding all of the elements onto my house, and I'll repeat this process for all of my houses in my Yuletide lane. On this particular house, I've added a wreath, and I did add just a bit of foam adhesive behind the wreath because this is the first house in the stack. I'm adding all of the other elements with liquid glue, including the windows here, and I love that colorful Mary banner over the top. Now there's also some little snow pieces that fit perfectly over the arch doors and over the windows. And this completes my first little house in the Yuletide lane. So I'm going to show you all of them that I created here and the order in which I'm going to attach them. So I started out with nectar, sea glass, rainforest, pistachio, and I finished with pimento. Because pimento is the last house in my lane, I'm going to trim off that tab that's die cut on the side of that. And then I'm going to work through all of the houses and fold along that tab. I'm going to fold both backwards and forwards so that these fold easily as I place them together. I'm using a bone folder to really reinforce that crease as well. I'm adding some liquid glue to the first tab on that nectar house, and I'm positioning my sea glass house. And while that glue is still wet, I'm going to fold this back and make sure that the sea glass house is not visible from the front side of the nectar house. I have some time to kind of slide it into place if I need to make some adjustments, and that's why liquid glue works great for this. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to the next tab, and I'm going to continue positioning my houses, folding backwards and forwards as I go along, but also folding to check to make sure that everything's falling into line and into position, that nothing is kind of visible from the front side. So I'm going to continue working my way across. I love this little pistachio house. And I'll finish my lane with the pimento house at the very end. I loved decorating each of these. All of them are a little bit different. I kind of created some different configurations in the light strands and the wreaths. And then I decided to go ahead and die cut some of the trees in the Yuletide lane die set and add them at the seams between the two houses. Now this is completely optional, but in order to do this, I first created a score line using my scoreboard, and then I added liquid adhesive to the back of that. I positioned it to where the score line is in line with the fold line between the two houses. So you can see that here. And I'm just making sure that as I fold my houses back, that tree is in the exact right position. Now to finish my house off on the front side, I'm going to add a gold metallic enamel dot to the door for a doorknob. Now this next step is completely optional, but I decided to go ahead and add a backer on the back side of each of these houses to kind of clean up the little tab that's visible on the back side. Again, completely optional, not necessary, but something that I did decide to do. I trimmed off all the tabs on the various houses and attached them to the back side of my Yuletide lane using some tape runner adhesive, and that finishes off my 5-house Yuletide lane with all of these adorable customizations on the house. And I love this set because really you could use it throughout the year for a housewarming set or something like that. I think that these are perfect. You could also mix and match some dies from sets like door decor to create even more embellishments for your little lane. So next up, I wanted to create a card project that just featured a house on a standard A2 size die. So I have die cut the little banner, the little Noel banner here, and I'm positioning the letters on the front of the white banner using some liquid glue. I'm using some tweezers to help me place them in the exact right position. And the little pole of the banner I have die cut from some matte gold cardstock. This is going to be the main focal detail element on my house. Now for the house, I've die cut it from some eucalyptus cardstock, and I'm using some of the new Merry Mix stencil pack. This is brand new for the September release to add a plaid pattern to my house. I placed the first stencil on an angle, and so I'm just marking that angle with some scrapbook.com mint tape there. That way, when I rotate the stencil to create the rest of the plaid, I know exactly where to place the corner. So you can see I'm rotating it 90 degrees and then blending again with a tone-on-tone ink. So since this is a eucalyptus house, I'm using eucalyptus ink to blend over this large plaid pattern. Now I'm coming in with the second stencil from this set, this plaid set. The Merry Mix stencil pack actually has 6 stencils and creates 4 different patterns. So for this one, it is the smaller line of the plaid. I'm ink blending with some rainforest cardstock. And again, I'm using those tape guides to help me position this smaller stencil. Now I'm adding my door and my banner. I have my snowy eaves and a couple of trees that I'm adding to the front side of my house to decorate it. And once I have my house decorated, I'm going to take it over to the trimmer once again and trim off that tab that's on the right-hand side. This will make this house fit perfectly on an A2 size card. So I've taken and I've created an A2 size card base from some rainforest cardstock, and I'm stamping using some white pigment ink onto that rainforest card base using the little snow detail stamp that's in the Yuletide Lane coordinating stamp set. I'm just kind of turning my snow stamp as I go, and you can see I didn't even go all the way down the card front because you're not going to see all the way down the card front. I added my house onto the card base using some foam adhesive, and then I just trimmed off the overhang of the tree that's on the left-hand side, and I added a little gold metallic dot again for the doorknob on this card. And this is just a standard A2 size card, so it's another great way to use this Yuletide Lane stamp and coordinating die set. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. And don't forget to join me live on YouTube at 10 a.m. Pacific time today, September 9th. I'm going to walk you through this entire new Concord 9th September 2025 holiday release. It is so good. And we're going to create a card project together. And I'm going to let you guys kind of choose what we create with. And I will use this Christmas color palette that I'm loving so much. Now, as always, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I am so glad you're here. I know we are all busy people, and I am so honored that you spend your time with me. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and go ahead and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of the card making and paper crafting video tutorials I share, as well as my Carissa Crafts live stream broadcasts. Let me know in the comments below which of these two cards is your favorite. Mine is definitely that multi-house Yuletide Lane. There's so many fun details and colors. I think that has to be my favorite, but I love that you can use this set in multiple ways. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.